Morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. Lots to get to this morning. So we've got the very latest with regard to the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassin. We're also going to break down this fight between Candace Owens and Bill Ackman over whether or not pressure was applied to Charlie Kirk towards the end of his life with regard to Israel. There's a lot to get to there. Also, we don't want to miss other news that is breaking in the world. Trump blew up another Venezuela boat yesterday as we seemingly edge even closer to a regime change operation there. He also apparently had a heads up about that Israeli strike on Qatar, even though they're denying it, but Israeli officials leaked to Barack Ravid, and it is very likely, as we said on that day, that Trump would have a heads up with regard to that, so we'll break that down for you. This also happens as the Gaza City ground invasion has begun, so lots to get to there. We're also going to take a look at, we didn't get to this yesterday because we talked too much today, we will get to it. Zoran picking up some new endorsers, and actually we had some news as well. Andrew Cuomo now trying to distance himself from his previous positions on Israel, which is a pretty interesting turn of events. And I've got a monologue today. I'm going to be taking a look at the rise of the black pill killers. So putting together some of the recent school shootings and what we know about Tyler Robinson, and asking if this is a broader societal phenomenon that we now are going to be dealing with, which is quite terrifying, frankly.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show. Really means a lot in crazy times like this. So let's go ahead and get, as Krystal said, to the Kash Patel latest clown show that we have seen on display. It's absolutely shocking, honestly, to even see the way that this man is conducting himself in public. And it would all be a joke if it not only was he not the top law enforcement officer in the entire country, but his public statements, remember, can all be used at trial should Tyler Robinson contest his innocence at trial. Defense lawyers and others potentially taking advantage of all of the misstatements and some of the timeline and other things that Kash Patel has now laid out that make absolutely no sense. So here is the latest from the FBI director Kash Patel in a Fox News interview yesterday, which was totally all over the map. Let's take a listen.
All right, FBI Director Kash Patel joins us now. I can't imagine, Mr. Director, how busy you've been, especially Charlie Kirk isn't just a impactful person, he's your friend. So I understand that. But having said that, people are looking to you to find out is how big this investigation is going to be. Can you tell us the latest?
Absolutely. It's so good to be with you. And you're right. My personal feelings and relationship with Charlie, I have a job to do for the American people, and I'm committed to do it for President Trump.
So, yeah, that's a first statement that we have here from Mr. Patel. But the most important stuff that really starts to actually break down are some of the misstatements in particular about the investigation. You'll remember that if you look at this, quote, official timeline and more that's been laid out by the government, there really is a lot of stuff, Krystal, which doesn't make sense. So, for example, we have things about the screwdriver and whether Tyler Robinson was able to assemble the rifle up on the roof, disassemble it, take it down while jumping off, reassemble it, stash it in the woods before it's eventually found. This is also comporting with claims of finding DNA evidence on the said towel, but we don't actually see the towel. We've looked at the video in which it was wrapped up. Remember also, you know, the official narrative is about driving in, changing clothes. We don't have photos specifically about what those clothes look like. I could go on. I mean, there's so many more that he has laid out here, and he is completely unable to lay that out and answer some of these questions. Take a listen to that.
On the ground, around 5 p.m. local on September 11th, was walk the entire crime scene, including the foots the suspect himself took. And what we learned was there was evidence, DNA evidence that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop. Also, we went over to the scene in the wooded area where the firearm was discarded, and the firearm had a towel wrapped around it. And I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
Remember about that screwdriver, the fact that it was then reassembled, or it was found assembled in the woods, remains highly relevant. Another reason why that initial thing about Kash Patel and his personal relationship with Charlie Kirk is that any defense lawyer could say that there was a personal matter and potentially corrupted the investigation. It is a bit complicated because as of right now, it's not a federal case. It is being handled largely by Utah authorities, although they are looking for potential ways for it to go federal. But all of this matters in a court of of law. The fact that the timeline does not match up with the, it just doesn't pass basic muster for, the idea is that you had an outfit of which we have not yet seen, and allegedly is which the suspect was identified. This reassembly is a major question for the investigation. The charging documents have not yet been made public, so we're not yet clear to the official timeline that will be contested in a court of law. And we haven't even yet got to the alleged note that Robinson confessed to. Anything you want to say before we play that?
Just on the screwdriver. So what Kash Patel is saying there is a screwdriver was found on the roof, presumably, where the killer was stationed when he took that fatal shot. The reason why there's a lot of questions around this is because they released that video of him jumping off the roof where, look, it's blurry. It's difficult to tell exactly what's going on there, but you can't visibly see the firearm. So was it disassembled? Exactly. And then if the screwdriver is on the roof, but the gun is found reassembled, then how did he do that? So those are some of the pieces, that raise question marks that the government's going to have to fill in of exactly, okay, what was he wearing? Where was he wearing? How did he change? How did he assemble? How did he reassemble? Where was the gun? Presumably the gun was in that backpack in the stairwell photos. All of those sorts of things, they will have to answer. And any, good defense attorney is going to be asking these same questions and trying to poke holes in that narrative. And I said this yesterday, but I really go and watch the OJ documentary if you want to know how this is done and how an effective defense attorney can pick apart the government's narrative. To your point about the personal relationship, another thing that they'll be arguing is that this was politicized from the beginning. From the beginning, they wanted to pin this on Tyler Robinson. They were looking to do it. Even the open discussion here of the DNA evidence could be problematic because that type of evidence has to be introduced with an expert. It's not a yes or no, it's his DNA or not. It's a probabilistic question. So even things like that can end up coming back to bite you when you're in a court of law. Now, I suspect that they probably are going to have sufficient evidence to be able to convince a jury of his peers, but it's worth raising the question. It's also an indication just that Kash doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't have any idea the way that he could be screwing over their case here. He shouldn't be involved in evidence collection. He is not the person to be doing that, but he wants to make himself look like he's doing something, like he's on the scene, like he's an important part of this so that he can save his own job. As we discussed yesterday, he is under fire and the knives are out for him within the administration.
There are two separate things. First of all, Tyler Robinson's potential defense. He's not cooperating with authorities. Dan Bongino said that he's currently placed on suicide watch. So obviously we're all going to be watching that very carefully. There's that. But there's also, look, this was a highly public figure for whom the questions around the assassination all should be answered specifically if you don't want conspiracy and other questions to arise, and especially if it's going to become a political flagship. And that's especially why this is important here with Kash Patel's latest claim that a note was found in which Tyler Robinson allegedly confessed that he had murdered Charlie Kirk. However, he now says that that note did not exist, but that they can prove it does exist, or it did exist, but they can prove that it used to exist, even though it does no longer exist right now. See, I'm getting tripped up because his own language is so unclear.
It's impossible to even discern what he's actually saying.
We'll play it here.
We're about to show you.
We'll play it here for yourself, and here's your takeaway. Let's take a listen.
The written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location, in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
Our aggressive interview posture at the FBI. Interview with whom? Where was the note? What are you saying? Did you conduct an interview with the trans boyfriend, with a roommate, with members of the Discord? Where did these messages come from? How was such note, given forward? And you're putting this forward before any of the charging documents. I mean, this is the problem with not just the podcaster FBI, but it really is just the rank incompetence and also just wanting stardom and appearing on Fox News.
Right.
Nobody asked you to go on Fox News for 15 minutes. Nobody. Absolutely nobody in the world said that you needed to do that.
Yeah.
You are corrupting a law enforcement investigation, dramatically confusing the public, and potentially influencing the defense of a killer or alleged killer who we all want to see brought to justice. So every single way that you square it, it's nuts. And again, it just fits not only with the incompetence, but with a lot of the misstatements, which really could come back to haunt them at trial. The latest one also is on Discord. So there's a new claim from the FBI that Tyler Robinson actually did confess. Potentially this is what Kash meant. We don't know because nobody even asked him, that he allegedly confessed to the murder of Charlie Kirk while he was in this Discord chat. Here are the details that they said yesterday, but they haven't released said messages. Let's take a listen.
About 2 hours before he was turned into authorities. This, according to the Washington Post. We are working to independently confirm this as well. But the Washington Post says that Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old suspect charged in Charlie Kirk's murder, confessed. And I want to read this according to the Washington Post, writing on Discord, that social media chat group that the FBI says he used, quote, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." This coming from the Washington Post. Now, this comes as DOJ officials began late last week and over the weekend looking at the potential for at least one federal charge. No guarantee they'll get there. A department spokesperson declined comment, but a source familiar said investigators are not ruling anything out at this time, especially his online gaming presence, his chats, as we just mentioned. Who was he talking to?
The reason why this is very confusing is, remember, Discord initially put out a statement that the statements made by the Utah governor that he had helped plan, Tyler Robinson allegedly helped plan the assassination of Charlie Kirk on Discord. Discord put out statements that those messages don't exist. Discord has since put out a statement, Krystal, and said that these messages do appear to be consistent with the account that was linked to Tyler Robinson some 2 hours before he turned himself in. But again, it remains very unclear what the previous messages that they alluded to even are.
Right.
And to the full statement, the transcript and all of that has not yet been released.
Right.
So, well, look, I want to be clear. We're not alleging conspiracy or any of that. I want to be absolutely clear about that. What we are showing is the rank incompetence here by the FBI, the lack of communication, the raising of questions here legitimately about Kash Patel and the FBI's own handling of this investigation and the relevance that that means for law enforcement matters, and obviously what is a heinous assassination, but also one that is potentially going to be used, as we'll get to just in a little bit, for political purposes. And so that's why the facts on this stuff really matter. And, you know, if we look at these history of these investigations, every single one is more questions than answers. The Trump assassination, we don't know a goddamn thing about him. Case closed by Kash Patel, by the way, and his FBI. I will remind everybody about Vegas. I mean, I'm sorry, there is not a goddamn thing about the Stephen Paddock case that makes a lick of sense. If he had been alive and they had to prosecute him, good luck. Yeah, I mean, things like saying that no video or whatever existed in a Vegas casino, really? I mean, I could go on forever, really, in a lot of these investigations, all the way back to Waco and everything. So what I'm telling you is not that there is some grand conspiracy necessarily, but that the screw-ups, the explanations, etc., have always been a breeding ground for people to, I think, legitimately say what the hell is going on here, and especially if it's going to be used for political weaponization purposes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, when I was scrolling yesterday on Twitter, practically every post was some new theory of like, oh, look at this guy over
Bingo.
here.
Yep.
Look at this video. Look at how he moves his arm. This is the real killer. I mean, like 100 different theories that I saw. So this is already going on. So when you have the government, which first the Utah governor said that there were Discord messages that, you know, where he was effectively planning the shooting. Then Discord comes out and says that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Then Kash Patel says there was a note, but the note was destroyed. But we have evidence of the note. But we got evidence of the note like through aggressive interview techniques, which by the way, again, a lawyer, what are they gonna say? Well, you got this information under duress. Like, what are we talking about
What
here?
are you saying? Exactly.
Did you like basically torture this person into giving some sort of a false confession? All of these things are going to breed a lot of speculation. And that is exactly what we see unfolding. If I had to guess as to what the hell they're talking about here and how all these wires got crossed, my guess, which is just a guess because you cannot tell from their statements what the hell they're talking about, is that there was apparently, allegedly, some sort of a note, that there was discussion about that note, not from Tyler, but from some of the people that he was, you know, maybe the roommates or whoever, some associates with him. There was some discussion of that note on Discord. Somebody got rid of the note. And the revelations about these messages on Discord were something that the FBI was able to get through their aggressive interview posh. If I had to try to square this mess, that would be my guess as to what's going on. And that could account for like the confusion of what the governor originally said about there being Discord messages about what he was gonna do and why he was gonna do it. Maybe those didn't come from him. They came from other people in the circle who had seen this note, who were talking about the note. That's the best that I can figure out of what's going on here, but incredibly unclear.
Absolutely.
You know, incredibly unclear. And it's entirely possible that that's what I just said is not remotely even what they're talking about.
Exactly right. We need to see the charging documents. People need to stop going on Twitter and Fox News trying to, I mean, Kash, let's be honest, what's he trying to do? He's trying to reclaim his reputation because everybody knows he's a clown in the way that he's acting.
He's going on Fox News
Yes.
because of Trump.
Bingo.
He wants Trump to see him on there and Trump to feel like he's doing a good job. I mean, the problem is he can't deliver on that ability of like seeming like he's competent and in command here.
And Steve Bannon reacted exactly to this. A huge portion of the right going after Kash Patel now, I think very justifiably. Let's take a listen.
I'm told that the reason that the video and what Michael Savage says and others about jumping off the roof is that he's got a gun in his hand and he drops the gun to the ground, the rifle. That's what when you confront him on that video, it said, "Oh, you guys are missing it." He actually has the rifle. He hasn't taken it apart. He drops the rifle down and then goes hides it. Maybe it's just too fuzzy. I don't know, but the timeline makes no sense. Now they're putting out video that they got the guy walking around in shorts in the, because he had two costumes and walk around, or two sets of clothes walking around in the neighborhoods. Yet CNN played today again. CNN played the doorbell video we saw the other day where he's walking stiff-legged like he's got a rifle or part of a barrel or something in his pants. He's very stiff-legged. They played it again. So clearly that has not been refuted by the authorities. This is why this morning, first off, over the weekend, shifting this now not to a single murder, but actually to an investigation of a conspiracy. And as President Trump says, many investigations. He talked the other day about Soros in an investigation, the Soros involvement, all of it. I think you're going to see a much more sophisticated, much broader investigation into this. 2,000 times I watched that video. I missed it because I'm still missing it. And maybe it's accurate. But I don't understand the doorbell. And the car wasn't impounded. You haven't rolled up any of the Discord chat. It seems like we're being spoon-fed a narrative.
There you go. I think, raising some legitimate questions here. Let's put this up here. This is something that was posted by Steve Bannon, just recapping some of the questions, brief recap. Again, this is not all 100% correct. I'm just showing it to you because this is what was posted by Steve Bannon as to the level of questions and other things that are now being raised about the FBI and the director's leadership. So the main takeaway for all of this is really, in my opinion, rank incompetence. And, yes, Krystal, as you said, it's potentially explainable, many of the things that they have said, but that's not how things need to work at the highest level of American law enforcement.
If you're not
and in a court of law.
Just don't say anything.
Bingo, exactly.
If you watch the governor, who has been much more like, even he has said some things that aren't true, but he's getting his information from law enforcement at the end of the day. He'll get asked questions where he says, I can't say anything.
I can't get into that for the integrity of the investigation. Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay, listen, as a journalist, I would like as much disclosure as possible, but what Kash Patel is doing is not disclosure. It's actually muddling and confusing the picture of what we know here. But yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon reposted, we can put that back up on the screen. Steve Bannon reposted this and said, and this is the short list of questions that we have. They haven't recovered the bullet. We're talking about specifically the bullet, the single shot that murdered Charlie Kirk. They haven't presented any video photographic evidence of the alleged shooter with the gun. The closest we get is actually that TMZ released doorbell camera where you see him walking stiff leg like he's got a gun down his pants, but you don't actually see the weapon. Alleged shooter did not confess to law enforcement, which was something that was very fuzzy at the beginning. It seemed like he was cooperating. We were all surprised to learn that he was not actually cooperating with law enforcement. They haven't presented any pictures or videos of the alleged shooter changing his clothes on the roof, which is contradicted by the photos that have been released. They don't have any physical evidence of, quote unquote, the note, where the alleged shooter allegedly claimed he would have a chance to take out Charlie Kirk. TPUSA staff contaminated the crime scene, removed the camera sitting directly behind Charlie immediately after the shooting. Where is that footage? I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this appears to be true. Pretty shortly after the shooting, you see images of them breaking down the tent and reclaiming their merch and all of that. Well, that's an active crime scene. Like, it's, seems like you would have that cordoned off and you would want to preserve every aspect of that crime scene, but pretty quickly you see staff able to come in and take down the tent. Discord disputes the FBI's claim the alleged shooter discussed any plans to assassinate Charlie Kirk. If true, they'd have data to back this up. We might end up seeing all of this eventually. I hope we do. So far, the evidence that's actually been presented is hardly convincing. This, I think, was put out before Discord did confirm that there were these messages not planning the shooting, but apparently confessing to the shooting. So in any case, that's the picture as best as we have it right now.
That's all we can really present to you. And the reason why, again, that we've said that why the questions and all of it, for example, if we think back to the 1960s, if you think about Oliver Stone and actually a really emergence of the anti-war left in the 1960s, it was always underrated how much the Kennedy assassination, I'm not comparing the two, what I'm saying is that it was a clear through line that Stone has always drawn from that assassination and kind of the age of innocence ending to the eventual military adventurism of what ended up happening in Vietnam. 9/11 remains the same. Look, I mean, it took years into the war in Iraq and Afghanistan for the secret pages about Saudi Arabia to be released from the 9/11 Commission. The 9/11 Commission report itself is a joke. I mean, everybody knows that. And then no one's saying Israel did it, okay? What we're saying is there's a lot of sketchy shit that remains completely unanswered around that entire thing. I mean, I remember last year, new video from 1998 of a Saudi embassy worker casing out the US Capitol that gets released. It takes 23 years for that to get released, but that's well after the consequences. So the point is that if it's going to lead to extraordinary action, I would hope that one of the things that actually happens is that all the information gets released. So at the very least, then all Americans can judge these things for themselves. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.